Let's look at religious trauma syndrome, RTS. Being traumatized by the religion you were raised in can affect you your whole life if you're not aware of it. Let's talk about that today. Hang on. So have you heard of religious trauma syndrome? There's actually a syndrome for it because so many people are negatively impacted by the religion or the cult or the organization of some sort that they were raised in. Now, technically, religious trauma syndrome was coined by Dr. Marlene Winell, and she said that it's a collection of symptoms and challenges often faced by people who are struggling with leaving an authoritarian, dogmatic religious community. So there you have it. That pretty well sums it up, right? Now, before we get started though, being raised in a certain faith or religion or belief system can be wonderful. Of course, we all know that if it's done in a positive way, where there's some freedom involved and a child isn't continually shamed into something or forced into something that they don't even understand, then having a religious belief can be wonderful, because if you're not being shamed, then you're attaching to something, you're believing in something that's bringing out the best of you. It elevates you. It makes you feel good about yourself and where you're headed in life. It helps you in the treatment of others in a positive way. And it's pointing most people towards what they believe to be an eternal afterlife. And for those who truly believe that, there's something exciting about that. It's uplifting, it's positive. Now, the opposite of that is RTS, religious trauma syndrome. Now, it's one thing to choose your religion as an adult, because then you're older and wiser and hopefully you're making an educated choice of some kind. But if you're born into a religious family and you had no choice, and as you're growing up it doesn't resonate with you, it's not what you as a person wants, then that has the potential to be very traumatizing, because it's kind of going against what you really feel or want. You're maybe wanting to go in this direction, including maybe being an atheist or having some other religious belief system which is completely different from what you were born into. But instead of being able to go this way and explore it, you're being pulled back and say, no, stay here, do what we want. We're your parents. And then the child, of course, is feeling forced to do something that oftentimes they don't even understand. This is so confusing to the child because they want to please their parents on one hand, right? Especially if you have siblings and everybody's involved and it's a family thing. But religion, a belief system, etc., is subjective. We can't force it on somebody because everybody has a different view of it. And we're entitled to have a different view of it. It's like forcing a certain food on somebody that you really like. Well, just because you like sea bass with a heavy cream sauce on it doesn't mean people around you or people you know are necessarily going to like or enjoy sea bass with a heavy sauce on it. So you go ahead and enjoy it, enjoy all the sea bass you want, but when you're trying to force somebody else to eat sea bass all the time, when they're telling you it's gross to me, I don't want to taste it, but you're making them do it anyhow, well then that's going to cause some complications, right? Now, religion is wonderful when it creates a sense of belonging, a sense of comfort, and bringing real inner peace to somebody. But again, if you're forced there and you don't want to be, or maybe you're an adult and you want to get out of it, so then that means being honest with your family and friends and with yourself that this is not what you choose. Well, if you get ostracized by people, then that's trauma. You're being ostracized for something that is genuine to you. It's your authentic self, and yet people are telling you you're wrong. This is horrible. Well, that's why therapists like myself see a lot of people come in with this issue, because they're confused by it. They're following their heart. They finally found something for them that's meaningful to them. But family and friends are saying, no, you got to do it this way. And in my private practice, probably if I had to do the bell curve of it all, one of the most significantly damaged, emotionally damaged group of people that I work with are clients that are dealing with religious trauma. I mean, some religions have a very tightly wound community that nobody's supposed to vary from. It's all about the environment. The environment is very monitored and you're closely watched. And the religion may try to govern things and watch over things to do with personal choice, like what kind of clothes you wear, what kind of food you can eat, what type of education you'd like to seek. And they may try to control who you can marry. Well, as a therapist, I can tell you that the best connection in getting married is what you feel from here. It's about what's in your heart. Can you communicate well? Do you have similar values? Are you able to resolve conflict? If none of those and even more don't exist, but you're just coming together because of a shared religious belief, then that can be the perfect storm for trouble. And sexual orientation is another huge issue. I know as a gay man myself, I really had to deal with a lot of crap and sort of finding my way through Catholicism in terms of coming to terms and accepting myself as a gay male. And sexual orientation is another whole area that is worth looking at in terms of the fact that it's not a choice. So if somebody is growing up gay and they feel obligated to stay in a religion that is telling them that they're a sinner and they're going to go to hell, well, talk about confusing. But it doesn't have to be sexual orientation. There can be many things like birth control, issues around abortion, interracial relationships perhaps. Now, if somebody is in a mixed marriage or has had an abortion and chooses to stay in that church or religion, which tells them that that is something horrible, or if somebody's gay and they choose to stay in a religion that they're being told that what they're doing is a sin, then that's fine in the sense that they're making that choice as an adult. The religion, the faith, the belief means more to them than a particular issue, so they're free to make that decision. They can stay all they want to. But for a lot of people, the larger majority of people, they end up paying a big emotional price, and when they pull away or withdraw from a certain religion or church, then they can be shamed or ostracized and worse. If you're somebody out there who has been traumatized by your religious past, hopefully you're in therapy, working it out, talking about your feelings, looking at how it's affected you, but also know that it's a process. It's nothing that's going to happen overnight, because sometimes depending on what the religion or cult was, there may be brainwashing or manipulation involved, and that can take a long time to get over. And even if it's something lighter that doesn't involve brainwashing, let's say, it still can take some time because maybe you had that paradigm as a child. It formulated your view of the world and how things are supposed to be. And now you have this inner conflict because you're going against these inner childhood feelings that may be still strong, even though objectively and intellectually you know you want to do something else. So what you have to do is allow for that conflict in the therapy, for example, explore the conflict, because we can't ignore or try to deny the conflict. The conflict is probably going to be there, and that's okay, because part of a rebirthing process, if you will, involves there's going to be labor pains. And then after the labor pains, the new baby is born and the new life is created. And also for those of you going through this removal of yourself and maybe experiencing RTS, it's always helpful to be in a group setting. Of course, nowadays it would be on Zoom, and that's fine, where you can share your story, hear other stories, get some support. It's always helpful when we feel we're not so alone in the world with whatever the issue is. So again, this is a personal choice. There's many wonderful religions out there, many wonderful faiths, different paths to walk that enlighten somebody, are so helpful in so many ways and bring so much meaning to one's life. That's wonderful. This video is purely about people who are trapped or caught or raised in a religion or a belief system that they don't want to be in, and one way or another they're going to fight their way out of it, and hopefully they do, because the alternative to that is that they stay in it their whole life and then have a huge degree of bitterness or resentment and anger and hatred towards the people that forced them to be there. And of course, this then can be played out with their children if they're raising a family, because it just kind of continues. That's what happens with toxic feelings if we don't work through them. And now others are impacted, not to mention the fact that as a way to cope, to not deal with these uncomfortable feelings, that's what leads people to suicidal ideation, to being caught in addiction, to extreme self-loathing, and so on. So it's a complicated topic. We need to talk about it, right? If you're dealing with this or have dealt with it in your life, please let me know in the comments section what it was like for you. I'd like to hear about it. Please subscribe to my mental health YouTube channel if you like these kind of videos. And until next week, this is Brad Shore signing off from Ask a Shrink.